Motivation. I'm motivated. But what do you do when motivation is not enough? You rely on your work ethic. You rely on your discipline. That's mentality. Now let's get it. What's going on? This is Julian Peters at Mentality Podcast, and I am extremely excited for the guest that I have on right now. This is Ryan Hinton. This is my coach, mentor, big brother. The list can go on and on about what he's done for me for the last couple of years. But Ryan, what's up?
What up, man? What up? Happy to be on here, man. Appreciate you having me.
I like that headband. It's fire.
Yeah, it's a gift, man. Somebody gave me. So, show off to Uncle Phil.
So a little bit about me and Ryan's relationship. I met Ryan, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago at the North Americas. It was 2017. We had connected on social media, but it was our first time meeting. We actually took a picture where he out-angled me. I still don't appreciate that. But who would have thought that meeting would set up what we have now? And so Ryan is literally the main person to encourage me to even start this podcast. I think he's been pushing me for about 1.5 years. I'm hard-headed. But I just want to let you know, while we're on the podcast, while we're talking to each other, I really appreciate you for continuing to kind of keep that in my ear. And now we're here, and this is a big moment for me.
Yeah, man, same here. It's good to see it come to fruition.
For sure. So I just want to let y'all know, Ryan is a bodybuilding coach, a lot of men's physique competitors. He's actually my coach, bikini, fitness, well, he does it all. I call him the GOAT. And if y'all don't like that, you can debate your mother, because I do feel that way 100%. So real quick, I'm going to share my screen. All right. Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right. So this is the website for anybody who listens to this is interested in coaching. Definitely come here.
Back.
Huh?
It's on your.
Oh, it's on the other one. Hold on. Now?
There we go.
All right. So this is the website, Team Legacy. That's Ryan right there. This is why I call him the GOAT. I'm going to scroll down here. Y'all check this out. How long have you been coaching?
2015.
2015. So it's been, 6 years? Look at these stats, yo. Like, this is why I call him the GOAT. And he's more so the GOAT, not just because of these stats, because obviously this is going to continue to increase. But I guarantee you almost every competitor that's been under him, at least that I talked to him myself, he does more than just train your physique. He challenges you mentally. He does all those things as well. So I just wanted to kind of share to you guys how important this guy is to me, how important I think he is to a lot of people, especially in the fitness world. And now we can go ahead and get talking and discussing some of these topics that we want to. So, all right, I'm back.
Yeah.
All right. So first thing, just talk a little bit. What's your background and how did you get involved in coaching? And
just really always been an athlete. Ran college track. You come home from college, you don't know what to do, right? And I didn't even have a gym membership until I was probably 20, 24, 25 maybe. And just always training. People would always ask me if I was getting ready for something, competing. Never even been in a competition. And then, just fast forward, I started doing it. And immediately I wanted to know, I knew there were ways to make money in the industry, in fitness or whatever. And so I just started asking questions. And immediately I'm like, coaching, I always enjoyed coaching. I always mentored the high school I went to. Every summer I'd come home or I'd spend time with the football team or the track team. So I just always enjoyed it. So I'm like, I already knew. Before I ever even started competing, I knew I wanted to be a bodybuilder once I found out about that. So I just knew I had to learn the processes and what worked, and just took off from there.
Okay, good deal. So, and you said that you always wanted to coach. was that something that you had developed at a younger age, or was it something kind of once you got older, you realized this is what I like to do? Where did that start?
I always wanted to coach. Even at a young age, I knew it. I knew I was looking forward to having a kid one day and being able to coach him up in sports and whatnot. What always held me back, though, is that my limited mind at the time, I only imagined being a high school football coach. And I knew how much they made on average. And I'm like, I don't want to do that because I let the financial part of it, kind of steer me in the opposite direction. But really, it just all started with a passion of coaching athletes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good deal, good deal. So, team legacy. That's what you got the jacket on right now. That's been like the big deal. I'm a part of team legacy. What does building a legacy mean to you? Obviously, coaching is something that's starting that legacy. What does that mean to you?
I think each person, first, you just have to decide that's something you want and what a legacy means to you. So it's different for every person. And for me, I just think that, we come into this world and we all leave. And the week that we leave this world, we're mourned, we're thought about, some people more than others. And after that is over, we go on with our lives. And people are forgotten about and not really thought about or not really effective. And to me, legacy is like something that will live on and be significant once your physical body is gone. So for me, that's legacy for me.
Right. Okay, so when we're talking about legacy, obviously we had a really big event happen past couple of days, the Super Bowl. And we watched Tom Brady completely dismantle my Chiefs. It was a complete domination. But when you're talking about legacy, one of the first people to come to mind to me is Tom Brady. And I think we can obviously say that his accomplishments, his legacy, he's considered the greatest of all time, right? So what I want to get into is, I guess, picking apart what it would take to build that legacy. I know me and you have talked a little bit about my thought processes as far as, being obsessed with your craft and wanting to do any and everything you can to prepare yourself at a higher rate than everybody else to be able to perform at a better rate. So when we're talking about building legacy from your coaching standpoint, what are some things that you think that you have done, some things that you think you'll continue to do to better prepare yourself for building that legacy as being one of the better coaches within this industry?
I think it comes with two things that contradict each other: is selflessness and selfishness. Okay. And okay. You will be guaranteed being misunderstood. Everybody knows that it comes with a sacrifice, but people don't understand what type of sacrifice. When it comes down, like the bottom line and the time and hours and consistency that it takes. Anybody that's been on Team Legacy has gotten a diet, a text message, an audio message, some type of communication from me at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. on a Saturday, Sunday, doesn't matter what day of the week. It's just something that I'm not even gonna say I decided. It's just kind of embedded in me, and I've always been like that. It wasn't, whatever I was doing. In high school, I can remember walking to my high school to go run sprints, and they left the sled outside. And on Christmas Eve, on New Year's Eve, on New Year's Day, in 9th, 10th grade, I was walking out there by myself, and social media wasn't there, so I didn't have to post it and tell a whole word about, hey, look, I'm over here working. Right. It just showed up, and the results. So I just have always taken that same approach, and sacrificing and being selfless and putting time into others, but also being selfish and maybe taking away from other aspects of my life. And that could come with sleep, time with friends, and loved ones. And I think that's what people don't understand, the bottom line. Like, hey, it's a family vacation. am I set in a position that I can do that? Will this family vacation take away? Will these 2 days at the beach take away from the legacy that I want through coaching? Do I want to be, hey, your legacy could be, I want 10 kids, 1,000 grandkids. I want, guess what? You can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But team legacy wouldn't be what it was because my legacy goal would be different.
Right.
Right. And so, you know, Tom Brady has kids and a wife, you know, so people try to use that. That's the first excuse. Oh, I got the kids and I got the, well, are you the only one? You're the only one with a family?
Right.
Do people not realize that this man still has to raise his kids too? And, you know, they were up on stage with him, but like, yeah, a great poet once said, you wasn't with me shooting in the gym. And like, just because y'all don't see it, man.
Right.
You know, I just think people forget, like, just because it's not on social media does not mean it's not happening.
Right.
Like, Tom Brady just didn't show up, you know, one day. Like, the dude's been doing this.
Right.
You know, he was extremely average as an athlete in college, right?
Right.
And, like, I don't think people realize what he overcame. Two things. Because, you know, some people don't really watch it that closely. I don't even watch it that closely, but I know he tore his ACL and he missed a year.
Mm-hmm.
I know he went 6 or 7 years without winning a Super Bowl.
Right.
In the middle of his career.
Right.
Now, everyone knows that he just left his coach, longtime coach, and it came with a brand new team. But what I don't think people understand is all of those things, he still succeeded and he continued to be Tom Brady. Those outside external factors did not change who he is and how he prepares.
Mm-hmm.
That is legacy. Right. And it doesn't matter what you do.
Right.
You know, I've had shit happen in my life. Everyone does, but you just got to continue being on who you are. And if you really are that person, everything ends up working out.
Talking about Tom Brady, like I said, I read an article where the man was taking 16 hours of his day to prepare for the game, to be more prepared than anyone. And I think that when you look at Tom Brady, when you watch him play a football game, his attention to detail as far as dissecting an offense is ridiculous. I'm even willing to think that Tom Brady, even the Peyton Mannings and the Tom Brady, the guys who got it so IQ-wise, I'm willing to believe that they could literally look at a linebacker by the way he's standing and say he's about to blitz. Because they spent so much time paying attention to the detail, because they spent so much time in that. So like you said, we don't know behind closed doors because that man has kids. The type of dedication that it takes, not just him, but him, also his family. There's a level of leadership there. There's a level of sacrifice there, but we don't get to see all that. And I think that's the most amazing part because his family is on that journey with him. Like they're doing this with him. What are you doing to make them feel included so they don't feel like they don't have a dad or they don't have a husband? So yeah, I agree. It really is crazy. But in talking about that, what are some things that you might have went through when it comes to balance and trying to find that medium? Was there
really just having that conversation with, I think it all comes back to knowing who you are, who you want to be, and what you want to leave. Because in the moment when you are feeling, or someone in your life is feeling like, hey, I'm getting less of you, I need more of you, right? Or maybe your life balance, right? I mean, your work balance, maybe your day, if you have a day job, you're not giving as much, or things are falling. You know, I've seen people walk away from competing because, hey, my career is kind of not where it needs to be. And hey, great, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But someone who is, if you want your legacy to be that job, that's okay. If you want your legacy to be what you said you wanted it, and be okay with those things. Right? Like 16 hours a day means that, well, if he did 8 hours, he could spend more time with his kids and his wife.
Tom Brady may not be who he is to us, or 4 hours a day, or maybe taking 3 days off a week. So he just decided, I'm gonna be that dude.
Right, right. And you look at, okay, so you talk about Tom Brady, and then you know who my guy is, Kobe. That's my guy. And you look at Kobe's story, and he put 20 years into the game, and he was the hardest worker in the NBA, and that was his thing. And Kobe talked about, I mean, he had 4 girls. And so Kobe realized, number one, these are the things that he did to be like, I want to be able to put my all into this sport, but I'm figuring out ways to be a family man. He decided he was only getting 5 hours of sleep. He said he could function fully and be the best Kobe with 5 hours of sleep. Although the outcome ended wrongly, he started taking helicopters everywhere because he realized that was going to take down time as far as travel by doing that. And so he was like, I'm going to put my all into this game, but I'm still going to be able to take my girls to school every morning. I'll still be able to pick them up every morning. So, like you said, that type of dedication, there is a way to figure it out. We just don't get to see what Tom Brady does to figure that out. Maybe he'll write a book later to explain how he was able to do all this. But it's something that he's tapping into to be able to be, I know I need to prepare myself here, but I'm also devoting any other time that I have to being a family guy. And like you said, a lot of people don't look at those things and they don't see, like they see, well, I got 3 kids. I'm not going to be able to do that. But why? Like, who said you can't? If he can, why is Tom Brady different? If we're all equal as humans, like everybody wants to say, what makes Tom Brady different from you in being able to figure out a way to give it all to both, or to give it all to one and still have time to devote to the other?
Right. And I think that a guy like Tom, a guy like Kobe, I think a lot of it has to do with beliefs. Like you just said it. Why? I'm like, well, people believe that. You're like, where did they get? What is that thought process from? People hit me up all, oh, I'm in my 40s. I can't. I'm too old to get into that. Well, if you believe it, I can't argue with you. If that's what you believe, then I have some people in their 50s like, the time is now. Like, I got time. 4 or 5 kids. I got time. So if you believe it, then you can't argue. We can't argue beliefs, right? Religion, politics, right? We're not here to argue beliefs. Whatever works for you. But yeah, I think those guys just had a sickening belief, because we all know Tom was very far from being the most athletic quarterback to ever come out, right?
Terrible.
And we're not used to a guy that had Kobe's physical talent. Like if you're talking about physical, I mean, Kobe at 18 compared to LeBron at 18 physically.
Right.
19, 20. It's like, I would pick LeBron.
Easily.
But we're not used to seeing someone that's physically talented and has a sickening work ethic. It's rare. I mean, even Tom's not that, right?
Right.
I mean, Tom has a great arm. But when people talk about Tom and his legacy,
right,
we talk about Mike Vick's speed, right? They're not going to talk about Tom Brady's throwing accuracy. It's great. It's not legendary.
I would even argue Drew Brees has that. When you talk about the most accurate quarterbacks, Drew Brees' name comes up first.
Right.
It's
Under
crazy.
30 yards.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy because when you really talk about like quarterback greats, Brady's name really doesn't get mentioned as far as like attribute or skill. Like if it's speed, it's Vic. If it's arm strength, it's going to be Mahomes or Rodgers now. If it's accuracy, it's Brady. If it's IQ, they mention Peyton Manning first. They don't mention Tom Brady. But yet he's outlasted, outperformed, and outwon and won more than all these guys. It's crazy that you said that, because that really is the truth. Like he has nothing that just stands out besides this willingness to give it everything he has to perfecting his craft. And it's just like, like I said, it's an obsession with winning. And he just does that better than everybody. And I'd argue better than everybody. They just wanted it more.
And what did he say at post-game interview?
Coming back,
We'll be back.
43 years old, man.
Immediately, I'm like, yo, he's sick.
Yeah.
He is sick.
Yeah, there's like videos in the locker room of like all these guys celebrating and Brady just like in the corner on his phone. It's so nonchalant to him because he's already thinking about that. Like I told the story, I'm listening to an interview on the radio and this guy's talking about Brady back in 01 when they won their first Super Bowl. And the guy was trying to set up like this tour with football players to try to give the NFL more of a global impact. Because when you think about global sports, it's more soccer, basketball. Like football is not really a global thing. So he hits up Brady after they won the Super Bowl because he's kind of like the hot commodity. And Brady's agent was like, well, he's already preparing for his next series. This is 2 weeks after he won.
First Super Bowl.
First Super Bowl. Not 8, not 3, not the first one. And so I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I'm a major Patrick Mahomes fan. I don't think that was the case with him. I think he celebrated, had a good time, went and enjoyed life like most humans would do. But when you're trying to build a legacy, it might take that type of, you know what, I got this, but I'm not going to celebrate too long because I can be better.
Right.
It's going to be tougher next year. And I would argue, like, when you watch the Chiefs play, they were more enjoying and happy the fact that they won a Super Bowl, let's run it back. Whereas a Tom Brady-led team is like, no, we hungry for the next one. You can see the difference in approach, in attitude. It's like we're taking this again. Whereas another team is like, yeah, we're better than everybody. We already been better than everybody. We're just gonna go do what we do.
And you know what? I think that's why him and shout out to Bill Belichick were such a good fit because the whole, like you said, the whole team was like that.
Right.
They were just different. Like it's business, it's legacy. And Chiefs, hella talent. But it is different. Like like you mentioned, you know, Travis Kelce's at the club with everybody. Nothing wrong with it at all. People love him. But it was a different agenda with the other ones, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And I think like I said, at that level, anytime people don't understand you or hear about what you do and say, "Oh, that's crazy," like I said, that's sick. That's when you know.
Right.
People will not understand it because it's not for everyone.
Right. For sure. So let me ask you this. Obviously, getting to the point you're at now took some steps. It took some building up to these athletes and all those things because you're building your legacy. So when you started coaching, was there ever a point where you hit a roadblock where you had to be like, you know what, it's either I keep going or this is it, like I'm done? And what did you do to get through that?
Man, coaching wise, I never, no, look, at least not yet.
Right.
I mean, I did get to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be a little more careful with who I surround myself with, meaning who I let myself work with. Right. An NFL team just doesn't let anybody come and just play with them.
Right.
It's like, hey, okay, this is a match. We can work together.
Right.
Versus in the beginning, I'm like, okay, hey, I'm open for business. I'll coach anybody.
Right.
Okay, yeah, sure. Now it's like, we have to be a fit. I think this player will be a good fit. Sure, let's set it up.
Right.
But so I wouldn't say roadblocks, but learning experiences.
Okay.
Right. But no, it's been elevation from day one.
So when you're going through that process, because I think value is a huge thing, obviously. And so when you're first starting something, it's a little bit more difficult to tell a competitor how valuable you were 5 years ago till now when the stat is in front of you and you can be like, I don't need to explain, like it's here, my value. So when you're creating pricing, and you don't have to tell us what you're charging, but when you're creating pricing and things like that, did your value come into play with that, or were you already starting the game like, I know how valuable I am, I'm not changing anything?
You know, it's funny you said that, and prices on the website. They can go check it out if they want.
Oh yeah, true.
But I actually came across that later after I started turning people pro, and and when you asked me that, and it immediately triggers something. It's funny that you asked. I actually started out with first-time competitors, so it didn't matter.
Right.
The first guy that I ever prepped turned pro, Tony Lynch. It was the first person I ever prepped, first person
okay.
ever turned pro.
Tony. Okay.
So Trevor Morris, I think it was his maybe first or second show. Trevor took a hiatus. That was 5-6 years ago. Trevor just started prep today.
Really?
Came back on Team Legacy. Third person to ever prep, Antoine Weatherspoon, turned pro and Olympian. So I was literally taking people from the bottom all the way to the top, or at least, turn them pro. So I was creating that value. I didn't come out and say, hey guys, I'm worth that. There was no explanations. Like,
right.
We're all starting from the beginning.
Right.
And those people stay with me. And so it was later, I guess, when people started considering, oh, well, now I'm not a beginning coach. Now I'm up here in this tier with these other coaches. Well, should I hire this coach or you? And what's the difference?
Right.
Okay. Well, this coach is $200 a month less. So go to them then.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Waffle House and there's Ruth Chris too.
Right.
They both feed you.
It's Waffle House and IHOP.
Hey, steak. They got steak at Waffle House. You can have that.
They got steak at IHOP too.
Yeah, whatever.
Better pancakes. Period. We're not gonna start that conversation on here.
Waffle House don't even sell pancakes, so y'all can have that.
So obviously we're gonna have some that are listening that are coaches and beginning to coach. What would be your advice to them in that situation? Because I know me and you have talked, and I've told you what I charge, and you're like, bro, what? Like, no. And the crazy thing is, my wife is the exact same way as you when it comes to that. Like, I consider it's crazy because I'm an aggressive person. And like, if anybody knows me, I'll confront whatever. But like, I consider the way you guys think business wise, you and my wife are sharks, like in a shark tank, right? And y'all really are. Where I'm like trying to be like, well, I don't know if that's fair. Should I do this? You guys are like, no, this is my value. This is what you're paying. This is what I'm giving you. So for a newer coach, what would you kind of tell them as far as starting that out?
I would tell them focus on leadership.
Okay.
Because this is the problem with that industry is like, you can go out and get whoever on Instagram for $9 a month and get a automated diet and training plan. Like,
right.
It ain't rocket science. $20 a month, $49.99. You've seen it all. Okay.
Right.
So, you have to give. You have to give something. And I tell people, focus on leadership, focus on that person, right? It's more outside of these things can't happen. The training and getting in shape and competing, that can't happen if the core of that person is not intact.
Right.
A lot of that we can't control. But when you focus on, there's a great quote, if you give people what they want, you can have what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And so most people, especially in our industry, have other things that they want to achieve. So if you can help them focus on that, then the other things are, so the value, I mean, people, like you said, sometimes if you have to explain the value, right? Not everybody's going to buy a Rolls Royce. Mm. People are like, what? $500,000 for a car? Mm-hmm. Rolls Royce knows what it's worth. Right. And guess what? The people who drive Rolls Royce, they understand the value. So Rolls Royce doesn't have a problem selling cars versus, Nissan Altima. Nothing wrong with a Nissan Altima, but
right. No, sure.
I'm just saying, I guess there's something for everyone.
Right, right.
And some people say, I don't need anybody to focus on. I just want diet and training. Well, get the $49 or the $100 a month coach or whatever. That's fine. Because if you believe that's all you need, then that's all you need.
Right. So what do you, like when you're dealing with clients who stray from your guidance, who don't necessarily follow those things? If you're talking about leadership, what is your approach to that? I know how you've handled me in my situation. Mm-hmm. Just to let you guys know, like, not only I did not follow, but I left and came back. Like that, this is my journey with this guy. So I know I'm one of the clients that I'm asking about right now. I was that, and I'm still working on that. So how do you deal with that being a leader? Because I know that can be frustrating. I've been in that situation on the opposite end.
And that, in that situation, I have, there's two types. It's either they're just phenomenal or they falling off. So I usually know it's one or the other, and you can kind of tell. But you get to a certain level where it's like you don't really deal with that as much, and I'll compare it to high school athletics versus professional.
Okay.
High school athletics, you'll have guys that are just screwing off. They're not really serious about it. They just want to be on the team to have the jersey. I get that some. As opposed to like in the NFL, you'll have less people acting up, getting in trouble. We still have some that are getting in trouble, right? But it's not as much. And I guess I would say I attract less of that now. I had a lot of it in the beginning.
Right.
But depending on, what your market is, and, I have a lot more serious competitors. So I think I just continue to focus on me as a leader and those type of people. But I'm just saying I rarely get that. But when I do, hey, I'm here. I'm here when you want to get right.
Right. Right. Okay.
I don't take it personal.
Right. So my next question is,
I didn't take it personal when you left, did I?
No, you didn't at all. At all. At all, y'all. It wasn't anything personal at all. And we actually kept talking through the whole thing. So, but let me ask you this, because this is a question that I actually was asked back when I was in school by my marketing teacher. And it's an interesting question because I like to see how coaches and leaders answer this. Okay. You're a coach. You got Kobe Bryant and you got Spud Webb. Okay. Kobe Bryant is your star player. That is the guy that when he's on, you win. Everything. Spud's not. They both mess up. Does Kobe's value get treated differently because of who Kobe is? Because he's that star player. This isn't from a men's physique team or nothing. This is just you being a leader and a coach. Does Kobe's value and who he is get a different treatment?
I think everyone will get a different value based off of personality alone.
Right.
Because a lot of times those Kobe Bryants, you're dealing with a different type of ego, possibly. Right. Versus John Stockton, right? We're going to have a different conversation.
Right.
So you definitely have to meet someone where they're at a certain level. It's the same thing in the workplace, right?
Right.
You have certain people because it's a free market, right? So I think just you approach that in a respectful way, and yeah, part of leadership is understanding your people.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually has nothing to do with talent and what that person can do for you.
Okay.
But what makes that person tick? That's how I would address that.
That's probably the best answer I've gotten so far. Because when I answered it, I said, man, that's Kobe Bryant. He can do what he wants. Like the other dude, he can cut. Like, I don't care. That's how I'm just being honest. That's how I answered it. So I would think the majority of people would answer my way, but your answer is probably the most correct way to approach that because it does bring the leadership aspect that we're not thinking about, which is you almost basically described emotional intelligence. And most great leaders have the ability to use emotional intelligence in a successful way because you are working with so many different behaviors, so many different emotions, so many different personalities, like you said, on a day-to-day basis. And the fact that you can work with those personalities, know who you're dealing with, know how to deal with that person, and then have to turn around and shift all that to another person is insane to me. I don't have that patience yet, but you're great at it, which is why this team has continued to grow the way it has.
Look, you know what? You said some things. There's a guy that scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. AB. They say you right. That's exactly who I was thinking about, and I was like, we haven't heard any foolishness, right? Few months ago, every day this dude was in the media.
Yep.
This dude was switching teams every 2 weeks. It's unheard of.
Yeah.
Wasn't he sleeping in Tom Brady's guest house?
So, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You get him around somebody that,
and
right,
Brady's who went and got him.
Yeah, exactly. You can't. Brady's like, leadership.
Right.
I got it, y'all. You can't now, and that's a perfect example. You can't treat AB like, I don't know, Anquan Bolden.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so again, when I was talking about leadership and legacy being misunderstood, how many people would be like, why does he get treated like this? Why does he get to do this? Oh, he's special. Oh, he's a favorite. Right? Mm-hmm. You will be misunderstood. Guarantee it.
Right.
Right? Why does he get to sleep in Brady's? You know what I mean? Like, right. Oh, he's bad because no. Like regardless of this person, there's a goal. So regardless of your feelings, we're trying to get somewhere. So this is what this person needs for us.
Right.
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 Dude, this isn't like we're not here to raise money for a foundation. Like, we're trying to win.
Right. Most definitely. Okay, so we were talking. Basically, we got into this. Basically, talking about what building a legacy means to you. So obviously, we talked about Brady and we talked about his approach to building a legacy and those things. So we talked to Ryan, the coach. Is there anything else that you find important into building your legacy outside of coaching? Are you using this to build some things outside of just being a fitness coach? Like, what is that part of your legacy? Because that often we see athletes who, like a Tom Brady, Kobe was actually great at this, which was shocking, but they don't have an ability to move on. They put so much of that intensity obsession that there's nothing else. Kobe actually had the writing and the producing, which was incredible to see him start to transfer all that energy into that and becoming that. But a lot of athletes don't. So do you have, is that something you thought about?
Yeah, yes. Bodybuilding is a great platform. Mm-hmm. I think if people are have the emotional intelligence to understand that any sport, right? The NFL, the NBA, I don't care what level you're at, use it, right? Mm-hmm. Kobe Bryant was effective. So many people were affected by that because of who he was off the court.
Right.
Like, we can appreciate how hard he worked for the games, but he was that same way outside. Like, the dude, I never even saw his Instagram page. I never looked at it until after he passed, and I saw all the projects this dude was working on.
Right.
Right. And that's when I was like, whoa, like, okay, consistency. It didn't matter if it was just basketball. That's just who he was. Right. And so for me, yeah, it scares the hell out of me that I would leave this planet and be forgotten in a week.
Right.
Which, it sounds bad, but that's what happens to everyone, minus your, very, very close, your immediate family.
Right.
Right. So that's not enough for me. Like, I decided a couple of years ago, like, I want to be that Hinton. Like, I want to be the Hinton. I want my great, 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 great grandkids to be like, yo, I'm related to him. And look what he's done and how he's affected, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, maybe they'll talk about it that I competed in Olympia, but that probably won't be like, I don't want that to be it. Like, that can be gone and forgotten. It's gone and forgotten now. Most people don't even know I like the newer people in the sport, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's what's important to me. And it starts, like, I think with the call it a fear. That scares the hell out of me, that, so I don't know. Maybe that's just what keeps me driving. Like, people call it a why,
right.
People use that why, like, oh, my kids. Like, no, it's not. Your kids aren't your why. Like, that's not, you know what I mean? Like, we all have kids. That's not something different. Like, for me, my son was never my why, but my legacy, like, that depth. Like, I remember my grandfather, you know, and he lived to 99. He's born in 1918. So like, but I'm proud of that. And I think about, I'm like, man, I want my great grandkids to feel that way, how I feel about him.
Right.
Yeah.
So before we move to what you just said, do you think part of your thought process as far as legacy is due to the fact of who your father is?
Man, I don't know. I don't know if I was just born with it. I'm sure that I've got to be affected by it some way, right? And he was affected by my grandfather, which is who I was going back to, right? And I don't want to get too deep into that, but before my grandfather, I don't know anybody.
Right.
I don't know who they were and what they were about, and that bothers me. I don't want that to continue through my bloodline. I want them to know who they are, who they came from, why they are the way they are, and be proud of what was built and what they're a part of, right?
Got you. So just to let y'all know, Ryan's father is Laura Hinton, and he is one of the first African-American, he is the first African-American football player to play at LSU University. So that legacy, as far as being a Hinton, I'm assuming it has some substantial, I guess, recognition to that last name, which to me would make me understand a little bit why Ryan is dealing with legacy the way he does, because he's coming from a great legacy. Like, that's a hell of an accomplishment to have, you know. That's something that when he told me that, I was shocked because I didn't know. And then you look on ESPN and they're actually doing a feature on this man's father, which is crazy. So the next step we're going to talk about is what you just brought up, which is fear. Because I am the type of person now, I have been really looking at the way we use words. And somehow we've started to give words a lot of negative connotations that I don't necessarily agree with. Like when I spoke about obsession. When you hear somebody's obsessed with something, it's normally used in a terrible way. He's obsessed. She's obsessed. That's obsessive. But if it's guided in the right way, like a Tom Brady or like a Kobe Bryant, there's nothing wrong with that. You're channeling that obsession to a craft or a goal to reach. So when we're talking about fear, I feel the same way. So what is fear to you, and is there appropriate fear? You kind of just touched on that a little bit, so let's dig deeper into that. What's fear, and is there such thing as having an appropriate fear?
Yeah. I mean, fear is just like the basic, the innate feeling that you don't want something to happen,
right?
Whether it be current or in the future. And absolutely, there's good fear and there's bad fear, because, or however you want to word it, the bad fear is I'm afraid to fail. I'm afraid for people to laugh at me because I tried something and they said it wasn't going to work and it didn't work. And they're right. So I'm just not going to do anything. Mm-hmm. And then on the flip side, you have your fear that says, I have to make this happen because they said it wasn't going to work. Mm-hmm. I'm so afraid of failing and them being right about what they said that I have to stay up tonight and get 2 hours of sleep or not sleep at all and then turn around and do it again the next day. I have to be effective. So then it comes down to a decision of like, which one's more powerful to you? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, you know, some people are afraid to take their shirt off at the beach. So they go to the gym hard. Yeah. Right? I'm afraid to get on stage and not look good. Right? Or I'm afraid to get on stage and I don't look good enough, so I'm just not going to compete anymore. Right. So you got to decide, like, how serious are you about like what you want to leave behind, and what do you want to be about? Because whatever the answer is, I guarantee you, it shows up in every aspect of their life. Right. Not just a hobby. It shows up at work, in their career. It shows up at home, in their relationships. It shows up in their family and how they raise their kids. Right. That same negative fear is all the way through their life. Right. And if it is great fear, they're one of those people like, let's just do it. Right. Doesn't care. Doesn't matter the outcome. Let's just figure it out. And we'll just, when we get there, we'll just keep going and we're going to make this thing work because this is what I'm about. Right. That mentality.
Yeah, exactly. So what you just said actually resonates to me because I'm gonna use two examples. The first example is myself. So I was actually, which it pains me to say because I'm not this type of person, but when it comes to starting this, I was on that other side of fear. What if they don't like me? What if I don't sound right? What if I don't get a lot of listeners? I was thinking about all that, and those are the reasons I wasn't going to start this. Like, I don't want to start this. That's too much. Like, I'm scared. I'm never like that, but I was uncomfortable with what this was. So I let fear get in the way and distract me, and I just held off from doing it. Then you got my wife, who we get married. She drops her whole career that she's doing to go to chiropractic school. The minute we got up here, I've never seen somebody so scared and fearful in my life of failing, not being prepared, not being smart enough, not doing all these things, right? Just crying. I'm terrified. This is going to be really hard. She took the first semester, she only took half the classes instead of the full 8 loads, so she can get used to that. All that fear. And I've never seen fear push somebody to work so hard in my life than watching from, she's now a 4.0 student. She's probably going to be the valedictorian of her class, right?
Wow.
I've watched her stay up till 10, then wake up at 3, study her life away, miss meals. Like, she's on phone calls with people to get help. She got to the point where she was going to a tutor and she became a tutor because she felt like if she was teaching, she would learn the stuff more. Like, all these things she was doing, but it was really a fear of not being, like, failing and not being able to do this that pushed her to become this like ultra RoboCop student, so to speak, and get these results. Like, I'm watching this, I'm like, whoa, like, that has to be an appropriate fear, because she used that to channel and like turn into this just overall great student and great chiropractor to be, by letting that fear kind of be like, I'm not going to let this happen, even though I'm afraid of it. Like you said, I'm going to do everything in my power not to let that be the outcome.
Exactly. Same fear.
Right.
I mean, it's the same, just different perspective. What do you want?
Right.
And how serious are people about it? Brady's probably afraid to not be the greatest of all time. You know what I mean? People are afraid, like, even like, just, I'm afraid. Someone could be afraid, I don't want my husband to leave me, so I'm gonna be the greatest wife, I'm gonna be the greatest woman you ever had, right? I'm afraid to get fired, so I'm gonna bust my behind at work.
Right.
Or I'm gonna just call in today because I don't feel like dealing with it.
Right.
Some people run from their fears and some people run to them.
Right. Right. So I would say it seems like when we're talking about this, obviously the mental aspect of how we approach things is the most important, because that's basically all that is. What we're talking about is how you're approaching fear. So being fearful isn't a bad thing, is what I'm trying to get people to understand. We're talking about this. It's okay to have a fear of failure. It's okay to have those things. But I also think what we're looking at is how you approach it, because some people react to that fear of failure, like you said, and they fail before they start because they're not going to start. Yep. Like, that's where I was at. I failed before I started because I had built up such a fear. I let that win. That's the mental approach that a lot of people are missing, I feel like, when it comes to fear. And that's why fear has the negative connotation that it has, is because you all, I was included in this, have allowed to win instead of approaching it differently and beating that fear or using that to make you better.
Right.
So that's how I look at it.
I love it.
I'm glad to hear you say that, but that's how I looked at it. And again, my experiences, especially recently, really opened my eyes to this, because like I said, it's almost like if you have fear, I've never seen it when we've had our conversations, because you've always been like, no, bro, like, go do it. Like, why are you scared? Like, go do it. Yeah. What's the worst that can happen? Just go do it.
I see it in my son, man. I see it in my. It starts very young.
Right.
We were in Austin and they were doing little canoes.
Right.
And he's like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm gonna fall in. I'm like, where are you getting this from? Why do you think you're gonna fall in?
Right.
We got in and he loved it. And I was like, now, was it that bad? He was like, no, I want to go again. I'm like, well, you just got to do it. It's, man, that feeling, it's like being on a roller coaster,
Right.
you know, and you go down and it's like your guts are like, oh my God.
Right.
I thought it was going to be bad. I was phenomenal. Let me do that again. You got some more of that? Give me some more of that fear.
Right.
So, yeah, nah, it's scary. Look, I remember varsity football, man. I'm like, yo, them dudes are big, fast. Like, oh my God. Got out there, I ran a little bit faster. I'm like, oh, I can do this. So,
See, that's the
yeah,
crazy
man,
thing.
that's the
Like,
only way.
I feel like it's channeled in different aspects. I've never been afraid of anybody in any athletic anything.
Right.
And it could be because when I grew up, like I said, I played against older people. That could have been the reason. And my mom and my dad, my stepdad at the time, they put me in older leagues. So I really didn't have a choice of being fearful or scared because they would have punished me. Like, not them parents, but the kids I was playing against. So I never had like a real fear on a court or on a football field. We all human. And I thought, I mean, part of my language, mom, if you listen, I thought I was shit no matter what. And that's how I used it. I was comfortable in that environment.
Yeah.
I think another part of that is when you get into the uncomfortable parts of your environment where fear really starts to become a foe that you're looking at for real. Because this is uncomfortable for me. Like, not now. Like, I feel like I'm a pro now. But when I first tried it, I'm like, bro, the thought of this is uncomfortable because people are going to be watching me. They're going to be listening to me. Can I talk properly? Can they understand me? Nah, I'm not ready. Like, I'm not ready. I'm going to go play this video game. I'm not ready.
Yeah.
Wasting time. I wasted a year, literally. Since you brought this up and since I mentioned it, I wasted a year being scared. But it was because the environment was uncomfortable. So do you think that plays into it when you're stepping out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, absolutely. But that environment, it takes a very special individual to not let this affect this. Right. This affect this.
Right.
Because this is everything.
Right.
And maybe it's something that is learned or trained that, call it, David Goggins, like, oh, it sucks, it's hard. Okay, I'm gonna go do it. Right. Like, oh, it's uncomfortable. Okay, I'm gonna go do it. Because I see the value in the type of person I become. Right. And doing that. Like that's sick. Right. That's sick. Dude's like, I hate this, so I'm gonna do it every day. I hate it. And it affects every area of your life. Right. So when we were talking about fear, you mentioned failure. Have you ever failed at anything? Oh my God. Plenty times. And, call it a steal from who was that? Theodore Roosevelt, somebody. Who was that said, I never failed. I just found, 1,000 ways to do it wrong. I know the hip hop version, Kendrick Lamar said. Yeah. So I don't know, but it's the same thing. I feel that though. Yeah. I mean, you could take it, people, I've learned a lot through failure. I learned how to be a prep coach because I did a lot of stuff wrong as a competitor. Okay. So I knew that thing that everyone else does, you shouldn't do. Right. Because I tried something different. Right. I tried all of that. Right. And so when people, you can argue whatever, I'm like, well, I know more because I've experienced more. It's simple as that. Right. So yeah, man, look, I've gone to the wrong competitions, right? I shouldn't win. I got my ass bust. Right. Right. But again, it just depends on what your goal is. Like everybody wants to do everything perfect the first time. Mm-hmm. Like people are afraid people won't hire me. They're like, I'm gonna get in shape first, then I'm gonna hire you. So that's you're gonna you'll do it wrong and then come to me because you want me to see you in some type of shape that you think, oh, I don't want to go to nationals until I'm ready. Like, no, you get ready and then you go to national. What are you
Right.
talking about?
Right.
But yeah, that's a mind. You'll never be ready. And the best advice I ever heard, man, starting anything. The guy said, "You're gonna make a lot of mistakes. You're gonna lose money. So make the mistakes now and lose the money. Make them fast.
Mm-hmm.
Make them fast. It's gonna hurt. Everyone's gonna get their heart. I've never met anyone in my life that never had their heart broken. Never.
No.
Never. I've never met anyone that didn't fall on the ground and scrape their knee. Ever.
Right.
You gonna be afraid to run?
Right.
As a guy, you just go run, scrape the knee, get up, keep going. It's gonna leave a scar.
Right.
You remember those scars though, huh?
Come on. I got plenty. I remember.
Yeah, so there's just some we try to avoid pain, but pain is inevitable.
But I would even argue, like, when you say heartbreak, it's about the heartbreak is probably going to happen. It don't matter if it's a sport, if it's a relationship or whatever. But it's important, like you said, how you learn from that. I can truly say that in the relationships I had prior to my marriage, were also learning processes that made me a better man to be able to become a husband to marry my wife. Because I was learning from those things that, like, what went wrong. But I feel like some people do not want to sit and look in the mirror and analyze themselves.
Mm-mm.
That's so hard to do. It's sit in the mirror and be
taught.
like, no, it's hard to do. And people don't want to do it. It's easier to blame coach for the reason that I didn't get the first overall.
Right.
Not the fact that you might have been getting an extra tablespoon of peanut butter for the last 6 weeks of a prep. We don't talk about that. It's Brian's fault because he probably should have saw in my physique that I was doing that since I didn't tell him. You know what I mean? And that instead
a lot
of
of times I do,
bro. And I look in the mirror at certain points, and I'm just like, it's hard to do. But when you analyze yourself, I think it's really important as far as being successful, like you're talking about. It's really important to analyze yourself because those failures that we do hit, like you said, you hit plenty of failures. It actually made you better at the end of the day. That's again the negative connotation with that word of failing, as if I failed, it's over. No, like sometimes failure brings new life.
It's all about perspective. I've started a few businesses before bodybuilding that I no longer do, so you can call them a failure. But what I got from it, like the first one I was ever involved in, they kept preaching about personal development.
Right.
So I'm like, I didn't lose any money, I didn't make any money. But what I gained in development,
right,
this discovery of reading, listening to books, and that's going to affect my mindset. Wow, I didn't know that.
Right.
But had I not started that business and failed at it, this wouldn't be happening.
Right.
So I know that there's always something on the other side of it.
Right.
What I've learned, you can't put a dollar amount on failure.
Okay. Man, I've never heard that. I've never heard that. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've never heard that before. You can't put a dollar amount on failure. I actually like that a lot because it makes a lot of sense. Right? For sure. But hey, man, I don't want to hold you too much longer. I know we've been talking for a good amount of time. Is there anything else you feel like talking about or anything else you want to say before we close it out?
I can go all day. You kidding me?
I'm fine with
We'll save it for the episode 2.
Okay. I'm down with that. I'm hoping that this does continue.
We'll be on a different level.
We can do this again because this is fun. And I actually learned. I can truly say that because even that last snippet that you said is when you really think about it, there is no dollar amount for failing because there's some people that we know who one failure caused them to become an Elon Musk. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know, like we talked about, you don't see what's going on behind closed doors. We just see the glitz, the glamour, the private jets, Tesla, and all that. But it could have been one specific failure in that man's life that caused him to become who he is.
And a failure that no one else was, a risk that no one was willing to take.
Right.
Right. I'm
Right.
telling you, people know, certain people know things that others don't because they've experienced it.
Right.
If you haven't experienced, didn't I tell you something a couple weeks ago? And I said, I can't speak on that because I don't have that experience. So
Right.
I'm not going to have I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. But we have an opinion about Elon Musk and Amazon and like, yeah, we see the success, but these dudes have failed. Like there's not a lot of articles on how many ways that they fail. There should be, but there's not.
No.
And I'm not doing that research.
For sure. For sure. I don't have time for it. I mean, I might look at a couple things. I do find it interesting that our world has come to a surface level world, especially with social media. You're only seeing surface level and you're not seeing what it takes to get there. And I think it's blinding a lot of people, especially young people, because there's a lot of people I talk to that they're only looking at, what's the guy? Is it Blitzerin? Dan Blitzerin or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's so many people that look up to this guy, but like, y'all don't know what he went through to get to those points. And it's not like he's talking about it. And it's almost created what I like to call a fantasy turned reality. Like, I don't think people realize like LeBron James is not somebody to model after. That is a fantasy turned reality. The man is 6'9", 260. Like, that's God-given genetic. To think that I could possibly be LeBron on an athletic standpoint, I think is ridiculous and crazy.
Right.
But it's like, again, it's the surface level of just seeing LeBron and be like, that's what I want to get to. But you don't know what the kid went through to get to that point. Could you handle being in the spotlight as long as LeBron was with nothing and staying focused, surrounding himself with the right people? We don't know what he had to go through to get all that first.
Right.
But it's surface level world.
Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not, man. Not, yeah. Everybody, it's easy, definitely easy to want to, and I guess people just get caught up into it. And I've never watched The Social Dilemma. Have you watched that?
A little bit, not all the way through, just a little bit, because I get bored and I go do other stuff. But yeah, I watch it.
People, it's very hard to believe in like what's real. And I get it, because people ask me questions about coaching and I'm like, I know where they got this from, because somebody posted on social media and there's like right, and I don't want to look like that. You got to do 2 hours of cardio and you get, or, they live this jet life and, and I'm like, yeah, right.
Well, even people that'll like look at me and my wife, test, and be like, couple goals. Do y'all know that? Are you sure?
Exactly. They don't have enough information to make it. They see pictures of y'all looking cute with some ugly shoes on, and you're like, oh, nice smiles, like, yeah, I want. Oh, they went on vacation. They look so happy. Couples goals, like, no.
Or
create
we argued
your own
all the way up to getting to that
vacation. Yeah, we argued about what hotel we were going to be in.
Like, y'all
we argued on the plane.
Yeah. So that might be something we could talk about again down the road, because I think that's a huge. I'm not a person who looks at social media that way, but I think a lot of our world does, especially the younger generation. Us millennials and below us see Instagram and Facebook, and they've turned that into reality.
100%.
And it's not it. I know what I'm posting every damn day, and I can make you think that I'm balling, and I am not at all, like at all.
Right. Because all those shoes are free, huh?
Yeah, like don't let these shoes fool you into thinking that I'm just balling the way I am. Like, I know how to make deals. I know how to figure out values and stuff like that. It took me a while to add all this up and get to where I'm at. Don't let this fool you and think the life is just grand because of what I'm showing you. I'm choosing to put this out here for you to see.
Right. Hey, bodybuilding and fitness, and people that look and like, ooh, I want to look like her. I want to look like him. Do you know what they had to do to look like that, and how consistent they had to be, and how long?
Right.
And how much muscle you're going to have to put on to look like that? Do you know that they've been training for 15, 20 years?
Right.
And you think you're going to look like that in 60 days? You don't want that.
No. Right.
Goal. Oh, that's goals. Your body's goals. Is it a goal?
Right.
And then even to the LeBron thing, I'm like, do you know that this person halfway looked like that at 16?
Right. Literally.
You know
That's what I'm
I mean?
saying. Like, it's a genetic thing, man. Like, you can't. And I tell you, even look at, so some of my teammates, some of the people that you coach, I can truly say inspire me on this standpoint. Couple people I'm gonna talk about: Jasmine Gonzalez, top 10 in the world bikini competitor, and Micah Thomas. For two different reasons, I have literally watched Micah for the last 2 or 3 years put everything and dedicate everything to his craft, and you see the damn results from it. He's grown in every single body part has grown. His presentation and his posing has grown because the man is meticulous. And it's like, I'm inspired by that because I'm like, I need to be able to do that. I can talk to this dude and he can literally tell me his last workouts from a month ago, what he lifted, how much it was, his approach to doing that, rep count. And I'm just like, dude, is that what it takes? It might be what it takes. And then Jazz, I just know her journey. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know y'all been working together forever, and I've gotten to watch her literally be dedicated, work her tail off to building her way up to being top 10 in the world. Like, that's crazy. She's top 10 in the world. But even then, I only know what's behind the surface because I talk to them.
Right.
Tell me some things. If not, I would never know that. I just see Micah as this big dude.
Right.
I'm like, I want that. Y'all know what he's putting in.
Yeah.
Trust me, a lot of y'all can't do it because I've watched. I know.
Yeah.
It's a different level.
Yeah, and there's a lot to take from both of them, and both of their stories can be applied to our conversation. You know, Micah is just sickeningly consistent, right? Like you say, you know, I want that. I'm like, nah, most people aren't that meticulous, and that's his personality. He's just built. He's just like that. He's a student.
Yeah,
he's a student of everything he does, right? And like, what's crazy is like, me and him are just like, boom, boom, boom. He goes to work.
Yeah.
Come back. Boom. Okay. Boom.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like this.
Right.
For the last 3 years, bro.
Right.
And then with Jazz, you know, you said something earlier talking about, you know, competitors that, and two things with her competitors that she even made a post about it. This girl has been second place so many times, and they were always changing the qualifications. She's never won a show.
Right.
She's never won a show. Even when we were like, we got it. This is it. She won prejudging and second place. Like, people would have gave up a long time ago.
Right.
And that's another one. We were like, oh, she goes. And like, she's built different up here. Like,
and she's how many shows in the last 2 years? Y'all need to hear that.
Oh Lord, bro, I don't even know.
Over 20.
I think she did 12 and 19 and never won and did not make it to the Olympics. She did 12.
Right.
Then COVID, she did. I think 8. Including Olympia, it was 20.
So listen to that, y'all. Like, in order to get to Olympia, where she's now top 10 in the world, which is not an easy thing to do. It's not too many people that can say they're top 10 or whatever they do in general. She competed in 20 times in 2 years, never won a show, but continued to compete and continued to go. And a lot
she showed up at the Olympia.
And showed up at the Olympia. And a lot of you say she's goals, but are you willing to put that type of work and technically fail because you're not winning first place at all these shows, even though, in my opinion, top 3, top 5 at a show is still great. You're still gunning for one and continue to bounce back and continue to go and go. But you will promise up and down to Jazz's goals.
Right.
Are you sure?
And she's one. She does share a little bit, I guess, about what, you know, I don't think people realize she's in school full time, 18 hours a day. I mean, she's a machine. And again, back to the Tom Brady deal. She puts in that same time. So while I see people on social media out on the boat or on vacation or at the club or doing brunch on Sundays with friends, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a different, those are the same people that say, oh, I want that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, you a couple years behind because
right.
you know, they've just been doing this.
Right.
Right.
I
even
say, like, I gave an example of a kid whose goal is to ace a test. Like, you have a big test and the test is on Monday. So you're on the weekend and there's a party Friday, big party, all your friends are going. So you say, well, I could study a full 8 hours on Friday, or I could go to the party for like 3 hours and get 5 hours study on Friday, study all day Saturday, study all day Sunday, and wake up early and study like 3 hours on Monday. I'll be good, right? Or you could not go to that party, study for that 8 hours, study all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and wake up Monday and study early, get up early and study. Now you've just made yourself gave yourself more of an advantage because you just added 3 more hours on instead of making up the 3 hours that you missed for that party.
Right.
Do you want to do that to get that A?
Right.
Some people don't do that.
And you know what? There's a misunderstanding. This quote, rise to the occasion.
Right.
We don't rise to the occasion. We revert back to our training.
Yeah.
Like people think, oh, I could just make up for it. Right. You just said it. We revert back to our training. Like if you always skipped out and if you always, well, I could just go to the party, and then you'll always be like that.
Right.
And you'll always, that's not going to change.
Right. And that's a habit that you're creating, which, going back to Tom Brady, he literally has a book that he wrote discussing behavior and habits and how he's used neurosciences and things to be able to develop habits and skills to his approach to the game. That's why he's able to do what he does, because he's developed these habits mentally and physically where he's just, like you said, it's a machine. It's just a level of consistency that he's doing the same things over and over and over again, which developed the habit. That's why he can study the game of football or work on his craft for 16 hours a day. Because I'd argue a lot of people can't do that for 10.
Nah. I don't think Honey Badger was doing that before they.
No, heck no. I think he might now.
Maybe,
after being embarrassed like that, maybe that's what it takes. But you can't tell me those dudes weren't living on a high. They had to be, bro. Like, Kansas City ain't won a championship in 50 years, man.
Right.
They were living on a high. Tom Brady is literally telling y'all, we gonna be back. I guarantee you, him and Gronk went to Disneyland for a week. He probably hung this for another week, and he's already texting Bruce Arians like, what's the game plan for next year? This is what I think is better. I need film from this.
Yeah, and in fact, I was wondering that night if they were gonna post a little selfie video of him and Gronk after the game. Yeah. Did he post it?
I don't think he did. The wives did, though. That's hilarious.
Oh, did they?
And Gronk's chick, like, they did it on the football field, like, imitate them, but I don't think Brady and Gronk did it.
Oh, okay. I see. He just posted a little video. But anyway, yeah, greatness, man. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So, man, I think that obviously, again, this was a great conversation, and I appreciate you tuning in. But I'll end this now with saying, like, I'm proud of the person that you are and the leader that you are. You don't realize how much you've helped me over 2 years, and it's not bodybuilding. And I think that's what separates you as a leader and as a coach, is because it's not just bodybuilding. You're challenging our team's thinking. You know, we had that seminar and Chris gets up there and he's talking about goal setting. You know what I mean? It's not a lot of people that are doing that for their competitors and for the people that are under them, which is why I think when you talked about leadership and how you approach it, it shows in your actions and how this team works and how you're doing it. So I just want to let you know I appreciate you, man. And I look forward to watching you continue to progress and grow and get old and that beard turn gray. I would say bald, but
it's getting there. Yeah, it's getting there. Oh, yeah, I appreciate you, man. I've always seen it in you. You know, everybody has it.
Right.
and you tapped into it, and it's like catching a wave, but it's like once you got it, you know, people floating out there in the ocean, they catch that wave. You might miss a few, you just kind of in a wave like that, and you finally catch it, and you caught it, man. So
For
only
sure.
gonna be great things. Yep. So I appreciate you having me on, dude.
Yeah, man. So thank you everybody for listening. Thank you to those who are watching. I know we'll do it again, and I hope y'all enjoy it. See y'all later. Appreciate you, Ryan.
Peace.